Today's stream, we are working on drawing. I was gonna do singing like I said yesterday, but I'm not feeling it. I have a cramp in my stomach, and I don't even know like what's going on. I woke up, and like 30 minutes later, I got a cramp, and I've had it since I woke up. So that's amazing, but we're gonna do drawing. I've been working on different parts of the faces. We've been working on just the head pretty much, but we've been breaking it down into different parts. So I kind of think that I've learned the basic, at least you can know what it is, recognizable. I've learned the eye. I've been doing the nose. Kind of think I got that maybe, and also trying to do it in different angles as well. What's up, Emily? And that's what we'll be working on. Excuse the noise, they've been loud all day, and nobody's being murdered. They're just, that's just them. But yeah. What's up, Rui? How are you doing? So excuse her screaming like she's Hi, Pokemon. I'm sorry. Every time I want to go live, they want to come in here. Like every time I want to come like Cassie. Every single time. It never fails. As soon as I start. Hi, Attila. I'm so sorry. I don't know how to pronounce that name. Never fails. Like clockwork. Every single time. Goodness gracious. One wants to scream because they don't want to be shot with a Nerf gun. What's up, Steppa? Hi, Carthy. Tasty Toes. Hey, Mitch. But, yep. Today we're just drawing today because that's all I've been kind of feeling like doing today. You messed it up. I am drawing reverse, working on different parts of the face. Good morning, Jigar. What's up, Test? And it's probably gonna be another quiet one because, again, unless it's Fortnite, I don't know what isn't copyright. Every single time I play something else, they're getting me for it. They like copyright claim. Thank you, Reverse. So that's fun. But yeah, I haven't been filming my videos. I've been really needing to do some, but I've been feeling some dismotivated. I don't know what it is. I really don't know what it is, but I have no boost. So I think that with my videos, I still want to put them out, of course. But I hate when I get into something like this, that I'll just do like faceless videos and like voiceovers so that I can still put them out. I don't know. That's what I'm thinking. But working on noses, different noses. I just did eyes. Different eyes in different directions. So Do that, and then we'll do mouth, and then we'll try it again. Louis, I don't know what that is. But yeah, this is what we're working on. Where's the circles? Thanks, GR. He might have kind of comes in, goes out. I do go live a lot, so I'm not expecting everyone to attend all the live streams, but yeah. I'm not feeling this one. Shading is important, but this pencil doesn't really do shading like that. Not really. At least I don't feel like it does that well. It's not too bad. Of course, it's only like the day one I practice noses, so I can't expect it to be 100%, right? Thanks, GR. It's definitely 2 down. Not bad. Yeah, he be in and out for real. That's not bad. I mean, I'll take it. Of course, angle. Okay. It's my noses. I like this one, I think, the best. This one, and then front view, this one. Yeah, right? Thank you. Oh, my nose, though. What am I looking for? Okay. I want to do lips now, I think. I feel like I have to sneeze, but... Oh, this too. He curses. What did she do? I don't know if I've heard of her before.
going to be talking about how I draw lips. I'm going to be covering the lip principles, and then I'm going to show you all the different angles in real time. And let's start out with the planes of the lips and roundness. It wouldn't be me if I didn't talk about planes, now would it? Now the lips contain 6 different planes, 3 on the top and 3 on the bottom. But as opposed to all the other features, you don't actually need to draw them in your drawing, because if you do, they just end up like weird piercings. Instead, you just need to imagine them while you're drawing and really think about the form rather than just drawing some flat ass lips. And something very important is to think about
Is she kind of like Corey then?
as a bow, and to really
What's up,
imagine how
Alyssa?
these planes are gonna be
I'm doing alright. Not too bad.
around the lips. Like
How are
they're
you
not
doing?
just straight like this, because your lips are actually rounded. Then we have where is the
Yeah?
pupil weight?
Cool.
That's around your waist. Now, I'm
Nice
going
to
to
be
do a
there.
video about line weight and what it really means in the future, but you just have to be careful not to draw the lips with the same line all over, because that looks like some shit that a kid would draw. Instead, you have to really pay attention to where you make your lines darker and where you fade them out. So places where the lips are touching or there's deeper shadows, it's really important to make your lines darker. And you don't just draw the middle line like this with the same line, because you really get the vaginal slit effect. So it's really important to put more weight right here into the corners, right here into the middle plane, then the top plane, again more in the middle, and then the bottom plane in the middle. Everything else, you leave it pretty faded or almost transparent, because that way you're really showing that there's a soft edge there. If you just draw a hard line around your lips, you make them look like they're not part of the face. Like, you make them look like they were stuck on top of your face with glue. And then we have the shape of the corners. Now, as I told you, the corner of the lips are pretty much the most important part of the whole mouth. And a lot of people draw them either with a square or like a little dot, and it just looks wrong as shit. Instead, I always draw them with sort of a comma shape, and I always pay attention to where is the comma facing. Is it going this way or is it going that way? Because what's gonna happen is that there's a lot of muscles around the mouth which connect right here
That's not bad.
to the corner of the mouth. So there's almost
Goodness.
gonna be a dimple there. So if you just draw it with a little dot like this, you're not really showing all of the form. And usually this dimple is gonna have a soft edge in transition, so you don't wanna draw just a hard edge like this. You want to build it up slowly and really think about the comma shape. And then we have the U above the lips. By that I mean this small dimple right here above the lip.
First
I
one
get so fucking angry.
is way better than usual.
Drawing that shit so pronounced and harsh, like making it look like a fucking crater. It looks like if your snot fell off, it's gonna make a little lake that somebody's gonna drown in it. You gotta be more subtle. Usually I'll just draw half of the dimple and only think about where the shadow is gonna be. But again, you have to be very subtle and draw these very transparent lines. You don't want to just draw the little lake. Then we have the 2 V's. Now the first V is this one right here, and people either don't draw it at all, or they make it so obvious that the lips look like a sharp object. Instead, you just need to think about the corners of the V right here and put more weight in here.
I'm working on different parts of the face. Earlier I did the eyes. I just finished up the nose. Now I'm working on the mouth and the lips area,
And another really important thing is
so that I can put it together and draw a face.
So you have one curve for the side,
Is the goal.
one line for the V, another line for the V, and then
Like a realistic looking face.
You just draw one whole curve, because you lose all of the different planes. And finally, we have simple breakdown used from the shading. So lips are one of those things where the more detail that you add, the worse that they look. So try to keep it very simple. Only pay attention to the basic forms and where you put the weight. Leave all of the prettiness in the juice for the shading. I mean, knowing how you guys shade, probably gonna ruin it anyway. So I always start out very gently with just finding out
Oh, that's better. It looks uneven though.
Finding the basic proportion. Then I do a top curve and a bottom curve, just looking for the height of the lips. And as with everything else in drawing, you gotta make sure that you first have all of the proportion and then commit to your lines.
Thank you.
I don't know how fucking people do it. Like, yes, that's where the lips are.
And
Naturally tender and juicy. Comes in buffalo.
I mean, it looks like lips. I mean, it's simple. Of course,
You can dip and dip.
I always think I'm gonna have it down pat the first day.
then
but
more
that's not
weight right
true.
here for the corners of the V, and then just gently connecting the V to the corners, but again, staying away from just doing it with one vaginal slit. Then you have the curve on top, the second V, and then the other curve. Put more weight right here into the bottom. You can kind of refine your lines and really go for something more clean, but again, 90% of it is really going to be in the line weight. Then we have the standard front view open. And this is where it gets fucked up. Now, don't even get me started on how angry I am if people join open mouths, because it's gonna take me forever. But the most important thing to think about is whether the opening of the mouth is gonna come from the bottom lip or the top lip, because you can both do this and this. So the first thing to judge is, are the corners of the mouth below the opening or above the opening? In this case, obviously the opening is coming from the top lip, so there's barely gonna be any change in the bottom lip. Now, something that people always fuck up is they make the opening almost as big as the mouth, and it always looks like somebody's gonna suck some. Instead, you almost always need to make the
This one is
opening
wild.
smaller than it actually is, and really think about how you can make it beautiful and sexy, not just some fucking cream ass like. So I just draw the bottom lip, and then I draw the corners of the opening with these two triangles, and then I connect it for the top lip. But you again need to draw separate lines and not just one big curve looking like a hole. Start out with the corners, then the basic shape, find where the bottom lip is, the bottom curve, then exactly how big the opening needs to be. More weight right here for the triangles of the opening, and then you just connect it to the top lip and the bottom.
Really?
Then refine the commas for the corners and connect it to that opening very, very gently. Then you have the top.
I don't know, like,
more weight on the bottom curve.
putting it together is definitely hard for me.
It's not looking like a little late. And please, please don't draw any teeth. If the opening is small, you just leave it empty like this. You don't want to be making people into horses. Then we have the standard 3/4 view. Now, as you can see, the planes of the lips never change. They always remain the same. It's only the positioning that kind of changes. So it's really important to think
I don't like that
about
one nearly
how
as
the
much.
direction of the wrapping of the planes is going to change. If there's a really extreme angle, the wrapping might be going this way. But if it's more casual like this 3/4 view, the wrapping is going to be more like a U. Start out with the corners, that connecting line, then the basic curves. Now, with the rotation of the lip, the more that the angle changes, the more that the proportion between the plane changes. When the person is turning that way, the further plane, this one, it's going to be a lot smaller than this, and it's going to be more than extreme angle. So the
I make my
angle in
sketching
here is
lines
gonna be
way
like
too dark.
this, and then in here
Make
it's
them
gonna be
harder
a lot
to
more
erase.
straight. So first draw the V, and again put more weight
I
into
rate
the
it.
corners of the V, then connect it to the corners, and make sure that there's an overlap between the V.
I don't
and the
know.
line
I
connecting
don't
to the
know
corner,
where he
because that
went.
way you're showing that this middle plane is going to be standing in front of this further plane, because it's all about planes. Then you have the top V, the connecting line, and then this further connecting line you can actually make out of two different lines, so that way you're showing that this is a lot more 3D, and it's again wrapping around. When you put more weight into the bottom curve, you can refine the commas and then even separate the bottom lip, the bottom plane of the bottom, too many bottoms. Then we have the standard 3/4 but open, and in this case the corners of the mouth are going to be sitting right in the middle of the
I like that.
opening. So the opening is going to come from both the top
I like
lip
it a little
and
better.
the bottom lip. Find the basic proportions first, then the curves, more extreme on the other side, bottom one, and then thinking about the corners of the opening. Now you see how big this opening is? It goes from here to here. How big that make it? As big as my penis. It's pretty small. Another really important thing is to think about how you're gonna connect the corners of the opening. Are you just gonna do a simple curve like this, or are you gonna go with more of a W? If you go with a W, that's gonna give you more expressive lips. If you just wanna keep it more casual and sexy, I advise you to just go with a simple curve. But whatever you do,
I
never
like
draw
this.
a W with one line. If you wanna draw one line,
Corners
just keep it a curve.
first.
If you wanna draw a W, keep it with
I'm gonna do
separate
a
lines. And see
center
how I
line
still put a lot more weight right
here.
here into the corners, drawing these sort of a
Curves.
triangle. I don't just draw a fucking dot. Then we have the bottom opening, the top V, and then
Okay,
again the further
and
plane
another
is broken
curve
down
here.
into two different lines. This one and this one. More weight into the commas, more weight on the bottom, and then in 3/4 might be really useful to draw the wrapping of the planes, so that way you show more of the form. See how in the previous example, it made sense for the wrapping around to go in opposite directions like this, and then in this case, it actually makes sense to go in the same direction, but whatever you do, you need to exaggerate it to show the form. That's structure, bitch. Then we have the standard profile view. And the biggest problem that people have with profiles is they just draw the lip as if it's like one single plane and it looks flat as fuck.
Sup,
Instead, in here,
Precious?
you can clearly see how there's still gonna be two different planes. So the middle one is gonna be right here in the corner, and then the side is going to be right next to it. So I start out with a line connecting the nose and the chin, and it's really important to look at where do the lips touch that line. So see how the bottom lip is literally touching it, and then there's a lot of space between the top lip and the line. Start out with all of the lines, just measuring all of the different proportions, and then you have all of the structure. And very, very important is to keep everything with separate lines. So one line for the nose, one for the dimple, one for the top lip, one for the bottom lip, and you have the chin and all that. But you don't just draw it with one continuous line because it looks fucking horrible. So it might take you a while to capture all the right proportions, but this is what you need to have before you even start thinking about line weights. So I do the comma, and then I think about how the top lip is really gonna be rotating around, and it's gonna be going inside for the V, and then it's connecting to the comma. Then the bottom lip is not just the C sitting on top, but it actually first comes out with a straight line, and then it rotates. Then you kind of go back for the comma, but you don't fully connect it, and then you have a separate line right here for the chin. Then for the top lip, try to really observe the shape of it. Don't just do a curve like this, but really look at how does it go. Is there a V? Is there more of a curve? Does it go
I like that.
here
I don't know.
or not going here? I don't even know what
A
I'm
little
talking
bit.
about anymore. And in profile view, it's especially important to add more weight right here into the middle to really show the form and the overlap. The vaginal slit doesn't look good in any angle. Then for the standard profile open, you just look at exactly where the opening is happening and you look at which lip it's coming from. So you're gonna have all of the same lines and start out with the same stuff, but this line right here with the green of the bottom lip is just gonna touch the top lip right here in the middle instead of touching it right here on the edge. And then instead of just putting more weight right here into the V, you just draw this little triangle to represent the opening. Then with the almost profile view, it's really important to show the little bit of plane that you're seeing from the other side of the lip. So you start out with the basic shape, then you find out exactly where the lips connect, and it's really important to find the exact shape of the opening. So in the front view, that opening almost looks like a square, and then in the 3/4, it's gonna get more extreme on one side, and then the more it rotates, the more it starts looking like a triangle with more weight on this side right here. So make sure to look at the reference and really look at the angle of these lines so I can judge the proportions. So put a lot more weight onto the further side, then put a little bit of weight into this corner, and then just connect it to the comma. And then the more the lips rotate, the less you're gonna see of the V. So it's not gonna be like this, it's gonna be very, very subtle, and it's gonna go down to the comma. Then make sure that you have an overlap right here to show that this further plane is really gonna be sitting behind the middle plane. Then you have the bottom lip, and see how I'm doing two separate lines, because the more straight lines that you use, the more you're showing structure. If you just do it with a curve, you just have the duck face shit. Then with the almost profile looking down, it's really important to show this overlap of the top lip and the bottom lip, so that way that the bottom lip looks like it's sitting behind. So again, basic
Okay, that's
shape, then the
good.
comma, then separate top lip from bottom lip, and then find exactly where they connect and make sure that you have that overlap. Then you go right here for the V, and then you go down to connect it to the comma. And see how goofy it looks when there's literally no line weight? But if you put a lot more of a dark line right here, it actually still looks goofy. Then we have tiny bitch lips. Now these are the type of lips that a villain in a Disney movie is gonna have. And the biggest problem that people have with those is that they just draw them tiny all over and they start looking like something else. Instead, if you notice, the tiny bitch effect is gonna come right here from the tiny corners. but the middle plane is still pretty juicy.
Yeah,
Something that you can
I did.
do after you have the
That's
two
the first
beads
attempt
is
though.
you can push the connecting
I'm just
curve
trying to remember what he
more,
said to
and
do.
that way you have more space in the middle.
I mean, but it
And the
still
sides are
definitely
fairly
looks
visible.
like
Then we
a
have
mouth
big old
opening.
lips.
Like it's
So similar to the
recognizable for
tiny
sure.
big ones, you can see how they're not going to be affected everywhere the same. So the sides are a lot smaller, but then the middle is kind of thick. So when drawing them, don't just draw a huge curve like this, but rather
Like it's not
focus
bad.
more
Like you
in the
can,
middle plane
I can
and draw
tell what
the
it
V's
is.
a lot
So that's
wider. And then pay
progress.
attention to where the commas compare to the middle. So they're not going to be right in the center. They're going to be more to the top, and then it's going to go down for the middle. And then you have the bottom. Then we have wavy lips. And these are the type of lips that when people see, they just draw these really weird curves and they look super out of place. Instead, much of the waviness is actually going to come from the middle plane. So if you exaggerate that and then you bring down the commas, you're going to get the wavy
That's
effect.
cool.
But whatever you do, make sure that you
I don't know. I still
think
like it.
about the three different planes. Then sometimes you
It's
might
not bad.
see straight lips that have no wave whatsoever. In that case, you almost have to invent a little bit of an opening.
I have to
so you
think
can
of
show
it. The easiest way for me to
form.
draw is to
Whatever you
think of
do,
it with
you don't just draw them straight like this. And then here
cliff
I
or
wanted to
no cliff.
illustrate to you the rotation of the
What
lips.
does that mean?
So the more that the lips get rotated, the more the
This is what I need right here. This picture right here. I'm thinking of it. Is that better or worse? Can't tell. I think I like this one better. It looks more realistic. Then if I want to tilt it, I'm going to do the triangles here. Longer objects. Means that it's closer to you, whilst smaller ones mean they're farther away. Does it look more angled? It's too far. That looks better. So I think it looks, I'm trying to make it more like angled looking. Divide what I'm drawing. What does that mean? Because right now I'm using shapes to get my proportions like correct, to help with like what angle or whatever. And also the sizing. So, I don't know, but it's not bad. Entirety of it, yeah, it's definitely a little off. I can definitely get that, but it's not too shabby. Been about what? What's wrong? What's wrong with your life? Something bad or like memorable? Hmm. Mm-mm.
Hey everyone, welcome back. Have a cross right at the center, so it's easier for me to see that that's a flat surface. And then we're gonna have that cross pointing to the angle where the face is facing. And then we're gonna taper that down to where the chin
What happened with your
This
cousin?
extra shape will then represent the chin and the lower jaw. Usually it's about the same length as the center of the circle to the bottom. Then we just extend that horizontal line all the way across to the rest of the sphere. And we can make another line that goes from the bottom of the
Another
circle
necklace.
across to the face, and that will be where the nose ends.
I broke the
And then this
second one that I
bottom
had that was
section, we
layering.
just cut it in half, and that's where the
Unfortunately.
mouth sits. So here is what it would look like from the front. You won't see that
Right.
circle anymore, but but we will see that we can see the flat sides that are where the circle sits. So again, there's the lines that are going across from the center of that circle, and then another one from the bottom. And then the last one that cuts that bottom section down halfway. So from the side, you can see the circle way better since it's facing us. And then we can then bring
My
that
dome
down
is so
over
dark.
to the jaw. Go across to the face, and that will be where the nose ends. And then this bottom section, we just cut it in half, and that's where the mouth sits. So here is what it will look like from the front. You won't see that circle anymore, but we will see that we can see the flat sides that are where the circle sits. So again, there's the lines that are going across from the center of that circle, and then another one from the bottom. And then the last one that cuts that bottom section down halfway. So from the side, you can see the circle way better since it's facing us. And then we can then bring that down over to the jaw. And then the same thing where we have the line from where the circle ends, and then cut that bottom section down in half for the mouth. Then bring and then cross. We will see that we can see the flat sides that are where the circle sits. So again, there's the lines that are going across from the center of that circle, and then another one from the bottom. And then the last one that cuts that bottom section down halfway. So from the side, you can see the circle way better since it's facing us. And then we can then bring that down over to the jaw. And then the same thing where we have the line from where the circle ends, and then cut that bottom section down in half for the mouth. So that's basically it for the whole head and the face. Now we're moving on to the actual parts of the face. I like to start off with the nose because it's right at the center of the face and it's the most dominating part. It's all different sizes for everyone, but this is also when you decide whether you want the nose to be a little bit wider or more narrow. Then we can use that nose to connect its sides to about halfway across that section. So it will end up looking like the person is wearing large sunglasses. And then that will make it easier for us to place where the eyeballs are. What most beginners like I did forget is that the features of the face really is just centered on this front of the head. So we have to remember to leave out space before we reach her scalp and her ears. And now we have this rectangle for the front plane of the forehead, and then we can then add the space for her mouth. A lot of people say it's as wide as the nose or about as wide as the space between the eyes. But most of the time it's really not. It's a little bit wider than that. So I just connect lines from just outside of her nose and drag them down, and that will be how wide the mouth is. So in this angle it looks a lot different, but we're going to be using the same methods. We start off with the nose because it's such a dominant feature and it takes up a lot of space. That's why I start with the nose. That's what makes it easier for us to place it on the face. We just follow the lines that tell us where it needs to sit. And there are lines going up from the nose to the line for her eyes, and then the ones for her mouth that are going down from the side of the nose. So on this angle, it's very clear why we need to put aside space before her scalp. Because we only have the face at the center of the head, we can see that it's quite a distance before we reach her hairline. I forgot to mention that the ears always start from dead center of that cross. So we're just gonna draw the ears from the center of that cross going down. For the nose on this angle, instead of having it be a triangle, or really it's still a triangle, but instead of an isosceles triangle, it's more like a right triangle. I mean, you can clearly see it. There's one line that's just going straight, and then we do the line from the corner of that nose going at an angle to the line for his eyes. And then starting from the same point, you can then drag a line down from there to where the mouth will end. So now that we have the planes of the head and the face down, and we've looked at it from different angles, we can now look at the different parts of the face down before we place them on the head and the planes of the face that we've already established. So we start off with the eyes. They sit right at the center of those sunglasses shaped thing that we've put down on the face. If you're like me and you have trouble with drawing just the curve for them, I think it helps to draw the full eyeball first so we can then figure out where the curves would naturally go. So that's what I'm doing right now. These are all just different examples of different eyes. The first one where is, I think, what we see most portrayed in drawings. They have the folds on the lower side for the eye bags and another set of folds on top for the double eyelid. I have found eyes with monolids like mine to be the hardest to draw, and recently I've discovered a way to draw them, and it's mostly in the shading that will highlight it best. I like to focus the shading right on the actual eyeball, right under the lashes and around the eyelids, so I can then leave out the actual eyelid so it looks like it's coming forward more. And then other eyes are more rounded like this one. There's so many different kinds of eyes out there. These are just the 3 that I'm showing you guys to keep the video short. So now we're gonna put the first eye on this figure first. I'm gonna start off with the eyeballs right at the center of the sunglasses shape. And of course they're not even because I am cursed that way. I can always fix that with the shading later on though. Now we're gonna place the second kind of eye that we drew on this second figure, and we're still placing them right at the center of those sunglasses shape, but this time we're focusing the folds right under the eye but not on top. Now we can barely see her right one because she's facing that one slightly away from us. So the eyes from the side is this almost triangular shape, and because we're looking at it from this angle, we barely see the irises unless they're looking at us to the side. So we're just gonna go ahead and place that onto the third figure that we have, and then we can move on to the noses. So now we're gonna talk about noses. I start them with this diamond shape and then draw the tip of the nose. I think it's very important to draw that first because that determines the shape of the overall nose. If the tip of the nose isn't as big, then that means it's a little bit pointier. And if it's rounder, then that means the nose will turn out rounder. Would also help if you want to portray like maybe upturned noses. The tips of the nose will be slightly more oblong and not as full circle. So that's why I start with that. It just tells a lot about how the nose is, especially when we're facing front like this. Then I can just go ahead and draw the nostrils underneath that. I like to draw the nostrils because it determines how flared out the nose is. So if you wanted it to be a little wider, then you could just go ahead and do that by dragging the nostrils farther away from the certain center of the nose. And then do the opposite if you want the nose to be more narrow. Now if you want the same thing but it looks a little more rounded, you can still start with the tip of the nose. Just have it be more circular, and then when you start shading them, shade around that. Some noses point down, so then you just start off with the tip of the nose still, just have it look like a diamond and more pointed down, and then have the nostrils follow that too when you draw them.
Just listening.
So now we're just gonna place it on the face that we already have. It's easier now because we have that triangle for it. On the second one, it's still the same thing except we start with the points of the nose and a little on the farther side because that's how she's facing. And because her face is also very slightly upturned, we see more of her nostrils more than the tip of her nose. From the side with the right triangle, I still start off with the tip of the nose. This is also when I decide if it's upturned or not because it will show very clearly on this angle. Here's what a downward pointing nose will look like from the side. And also another good way to show variation on the noses is on the bridge of the nose. Some go in more
I don't
and
know how to
others
draw
will just
eyebrows
look like they're
yet,
going straight
or-
down, almost level with the brows. And that's how this guy's nose is.
like hair or
Now we
anything
are
like that.
moving on to the lips, and I always find it easier to draw the farthest points first. That some people will have the center of their lips be going down, others will have it turned up, and some will have it just be straight. And then we just go for the little bow on top, then go ahead and connect that to the end of the lips. Actually, do the same thing for the lower lip. Start off with the center. I do the hollow beneath the lower lip before I then go ahead and connect those lines over to put the ends of the lips. From the side, it will look something like this. It looks like it's just the front angle cut in half, but we see those curves for them better. Some people will have lips that are fuller on top and some are uneven, so really you just have to pay attention to people's photos to get a more realistic variety in your lips. So now we're just placing that right on the line that we had under her nose. And again, she's facing slightly to the side. That's how we're gonna draw it. One end is gonna be shorter than the other. And on this other one, it's easier because she's facing straight on. So we just put it right at the center. And again, we're starting with the corners, then to the center, and then filling the rest in. On this last one, it's sideways, so we see the curves on the lips more. We also see the dip right below the lower lip right here before we move on to the chin. Now for the eyebrows, some are more arched and some others are straighter, but the strands mostly will just follow this direction. When you start off from the center, the strands go mostly up, and then the next ones will go over to the side while the tail of the eyebrows just overlaps onto each other. So now we're just placing those on the faces. As far as where they're placed, we really start off with where the eyes start, but end a little bit farther away. So this is what they would look like in relation to the eyes, and it will be the same for all of them in different angles. So now I'm just going ahead and filling in the rest of the features in and shading them. You can play around with it. You can make the cheeks a little bit rounder and the chin a little bit pointier. It's really just up to you. Just remember that the hairline usually starts right where the forehead ends, but you still need to remember to leave space on the sides of her eyebrows before we reach the hairline. So now we're gonna do some shading. Notice that I'm also following the planes of the face that I drew in initially. And of course it will depend on the lighting, but this will still give you the idea on where the shadows would naturally fall. And that's why it's easier to draw faces like this. It just really helps you with the shading. So on this second one, I've shaded most of the jawline from under her cheekbones, and this really demonstrates how the lighting can make faces look slimmer and its overall effects on how the drawing will look like really. So I'm just doing the same thing for the third one before I go ahead and give you guys another 2 sets of examples. These ones have 2 different angles from the first 3 ones. So the first, we're gonna draw this one with her head turned up. So you can't really see the circle because she's facing right at us, but we can imagine it being right at the center still. So the jaw doesn't taper down as much because we're looking at her from below. I've made it pointier, but that's not what her jaw is actually doing. That's just easier for me to shade it after. So the section for the eye is also smaller because it's farther back, and also from this angle it looks like all 3 of these sections are even, when in reality this is what it will look like normally. So then the nose is still right at the center. It's a much shorter, following the planes of the face that I drew in initially. And of course it will depend on the lighting, but this will still give you the idea on where the shadows would naturally fall. And that's why it's easier to draw faces like this. It just really helps you with the shading. So on this second one, and of course planes of the face that I drew in initially. And of course it would depend on the lighting, but this will still give you the idea on where the shadows would naturally fall. And that's why it's easier to draw faces like this. It just really helps you with the shading. So on this second one, I've shaded most of the jawline from under her cheekbones, and this really demonstrates how the lighting can make faces look slimmer and its overall effects on how the drawing will look like really. So I'm just doing the same thing for the third one before I go ahead and give you guys another two sets of examples. These ones have two different angles from the first three ones. So the first, we're gonna draw this one with her head turned up. So you can't really see the circle because she's facing right at us, but we can imagine it being right at the center still. So the jaw doesn't taper down as much because we're looking at her from below. I've made it pointier, but that's not what her jaw is actually doing. That's just easier for me to shade it after. So the section for the eye is also smaller because it's farther back, and also from this angle it looks like all three of these sections are even, when in reality this is what it would look like normally. So then the nose is still right at the center. Its faces look slimmer and
I can't draw eyebrows. Oh well, oh well. Messing it up. I am messing it up. I don't know how to draw hair yet either. I don't know, I draw hair, so I'm not even gonna try. It's better than what it was before. At least it looks somewhat realistic. It's like getting there, I don't know. It's like it just needs... Could definitely use some hair, but...
its overall effects on how the drawing will look like really.
I'll learn that next.
So I'm just doing the same thing for the third one
It's not too bad.
before I go ahead and give you guys another two sets of examples. These ones have two different angles from the first three ones. So the first, we're gonna draw this one with her head turned up. So you can't really see the circle because she's facing right at us, but we can imagine it being right at the center still. So the jaw doesn't taper down as much because we're looking at her from below. I've made it pointier, but that's not what her jaw is actually doing. That's just easier for me to shade it after. So the section for the eye is also smaller because it's farther back, and also from this angle it looks like all three of these sections are even, when in reality this is what it would look like normally. So then the nose is still right at the center. It's much shorter in this angle. On this angle too, I'm not too scared about having the lips look bigger because it's closer to us, and that's how it looks from our point of view. So we see a lot of the nostrils this way, with the tip of the nose going ahead all the way back. And now that I've laid down all the guidelines, I can just go ahead and fill in the rest of the details with my shading. So for this last one, I know this is so long, but I really need to cover as many angles as I can. I'm choosing one where they are facing down and we are looking at them from above. So we can't see the cross that well because, again, she's facing right at us. But on this angle, the cross would be pointing way down. So
What does
the
that mean?
line's gonna swoop down, but still following the contours of the circle. So then the nose will look like it's drooping, and the eyes will look bigger, and the lips will barely be visible. Mostly it's just the line for the mouth that we're seeing. On this angle, we see the center of her scalp a little too.
Wow, that was good. Portion.
I'm just finishing off with the
My
shading.
turn.
I'd like to take this time to thank
See
you
what's
guys
in there.
for
Okay, yeah.
21 subscribers.
So I think about it like that, and
That's just
it makes more
insane to me.
sense.
Thank you guys for subscribing and leaving comments. Thank you for making it to the end of this video.
I like
and I'll
it.
see you guys soon.
At least you want one. A lot of people don't want one. A lot of people are like, huh? Married? What do you mean? I'm like, yeah. Oh, that is cute. So jealous of people that can draw. If you're looking like this, you see less of your eyes. Less of you people, more white. So the eye shape stays the same, but the eye is cut in half. That is so good to hear. I love that. People still have the mentality of, oh, I have a wife, I'm tied down. It's crazy work. I watched a video on TikTok like earlier today, and it was like, people are bringing back like courting instead of like saying dating, because dating originally was, you know, this is like our trial before we get married. But the point of it is that we both have the end goal to get married. Now, when people date, they're like, well, this is a period, yes, but eventually we'll probably move on. Whereas courting is, we both know that eventually it fits, then we'll get married. That is the whole point. Huh? Someone might have already took care of you. Probably just done it. How does that? I do not animate. Look, you see this hand? You see this hand? Nah. Unless I got a ring right here. Right here. Then no. You don't know love, other side is duty. I'm confused about what y'all saying. You said the only one before my future husband that's taking care of me is my dad. So if that's what you're talking about reading, that's different from a husband. Yes, you can have someone taking care of you, but that's not the same. I hope to God you don't view your mother in the same way as you view a wife. It's not the same. I mean, someone does. Thank the Lord, someone does take care of me. My dad. And I do know it. But not in the way of a husband. That covers all aspects. That's good that you view it like that. When I'm like, a lot of people I may talk to, they don't view it like that. Dating is for a lot of people, maybe like 2 months. No, rated. No. That's no. Hey Brandy. No, I didn't, anime. Don't be saying stuff like that. Okay. I'm gonna draw another face. I'll try another. No, I didn't. Who told you that? Not me. No, ma'am. That's good. Love to hear it. Ooh.
Oh, what an opener.
Dang.
Okay, I guess we are in
Yourself.
for a ride here.
Ha! Don't be spreading that now. People on here think I'm actually married. Only us get that, okay? New folk coming here like, she's married? No. No.
Carlos has passed all the tests so far with Leia Fernandez, Vekic,
Mm-mm.
and then yesterday evening, Karen Mukova. An interesting 6-1,
Absolutely
6-4
not.
victory.
Ooh. Okay, we're gonna try this again.
Flawless first set of the buff, really.
Face.
Never lost her calmness
Get down.
and level-headedness in the second set when things got a bit more complicated. Let's just say this week's been a sharpener, hasn't it, for Swiatek? Wow.
Yeah, he did, but that doesn't mean we're married. No. One there. That's kind of high.
This is their 14th meeting. Iga has won 11 of them.
2 and
Last one in
3.
Saudi Arabia.
Okay, so I did that kind of off. Maybe. I watch him too. I feel you, but
Lively opening service game. Laura Robson, great to have you with us once again, courtside. You were at that. You were in Saudi watching their last match. I'd love to hear what you thought and what you think we might get today.
Well, the biggest difference was that Coco's serve and forehand didn't break down. And when you compare that to previous matches where she was struggling to get a set, to all of a sudden turn that around and win in straights was a huge confidence builder for her. It felt like on that particular court that Iga was trying to do the usual tactic of rushing the forehand, but Coco actually did well to drop back and slow things down. You saw her throw in quite a few no-pace forehand lines just to change up the rhythm. But yeah, Coco's a different player when her first serve percentage is high and when she has trust in that shot. And with the grip change that we've seen already
men
in Saudi,
control the
but
relationship.
even more apparent here,
Women control
I
the
think that's going to play a
reward.
huge part today.
How's the temperatures down there? Are you comfy? Are you
It's
toasty?
not as bad as I thought, you know. I'm doing okay. I've got a towel if I start sweating. But yeah, I think for the players, not as
How
bad
old are
as
you
it
guys
could be.
again? I know how old Anime is.
Well, you also commentated on that match at the WTA finals. What do you think? we
In
might
their
see
life?
improve?
So I think actually Laura was spot on in what she said, and I think in earlier matches, Coco Gauff tried to rush Iga Swiatek into her forehand side. That's what you usually
I
do
feel like control is
against
the
her.
wrong word.
And it's a little bit against Coco's playing style. And what I thought she did really well in Saudi Arabia was that she stuck with who she is as a player.
Control is
She stuck
definitely
with
not
her
the,
DNA and tried
when you
to do
think
the
of
best
control.
with that. And the forehand down the line, a little off pace with height above the net. That is something that she knows how to do really well. And that's always the art in tennis of how much game plan and strategy do you adjust to your opponent and how much do you stay true to yourself. It always needs to be a balance of the two. Not easy to achieve at this high level of the sport.
Are you there? Okay, okay. And go.
Nice play here from Iga Swiatek, and this is the play that
When you change your name, I forget.
That backhand down the line of
Forget.
Swiatek. And interesting fun fact, when I was still playing, I practiced a lot with young Iga Swiatek when she was 16, and she was only playing backhand cross court. And 3 years later, she had that backhand down the line.
I didn't know
That's when
guys
it
didn't like
really
to say their
changed the
ages. I thought that was just
trajectory of her
females.
entire career.
Okay.
Just tells you how much she wants to improve and does improve year in, year out.
Oh my word.
Both
Oh my
of these
word.
players really.
courtside, it looks like Coco's super committed to following that forehand through. Sometimes you see her fall back as she makes contact with the ball and drop off the back leg and almost kind of fall off the shot. None of that so far.
Advantage, Team Holland.
Goff yet to drop a set in her 4 matches. As Iga has been tested. The opening set breaker to Katie Bolter in the quarterfinals against Great Britain, and certainly pushed against former Wimbledon champion Rybakina.
What's up,
A couple
Ans?
of days ago, 7-6, 6-4. Excuse me, that was yesterday. So
It's been a long week,
You can
Sam.
quite easily get your days muddled up here. Apologise.
We saw a few of these kind of errors from Iga in the match against Elena yesterday morning as well, just with it flying off her racket, and then we saw that she adjusted the tension. I spoke to Wim after the match, and he said she went from 25.5 to 26 kilos, which, I mean, if I was holding 2 rackets with that sort of difference, I could not tell you the difference. It does nothing, but clearly she's so in tune with the feel of the equipment.
Advantage, Team United
Maybe a
States.
few nerves from Charlotte, given the size of the misses. Long opening service game for the pole. Get off to a fast start right here.
Nice.
And it's Goff who's on the front foot.
Right on.
Team United States.
Ooh, I gotta give it a go.
USA with
My
the
alarm
early
did not
break.
go off.
Fantastic point from Coco.
I gotta go. My
Really
sister's gonna be back,
used
so we can go to the
entire
gym in a
geometry
second.
of the court
2 against 11.
to put Iga Swiatek, one of the best defensive players in the world, on the back foot. And then, what nice feel at the net bodes well for a possible mixed doubles if needed.
Come on, Candy. she's got the full United Cup.
No. We went through that whole thing with him.
This
He
evening.
said, yeah, I was like, you're not saying my name right. I'm like, oh. But yes, I do have to get ready to go. My sister will be quite upset when she's back and I'm not ready. So, ew, those eyebrows. So, I have to end the stream. He just left too, but
Both women split with their coaches
oh, I'm sorry.
until after the US Open.
I know he popped in and popped right back out.
I have to say, it seems to have been very effective, particularly for Goff. She's won 16 of her last 19 matches of the season. On Beijing, semis in Wuhan. Only just edged out by Sabalenka, and then winning her first WTA finals. Brilliant. And it was just a brilliant performance against Zhong Qinwen.
Odier.
And you've been very impressed with Coco and Laura as well with the grip change on the serve. We were talking about it yesterday.
We were talking about it yesterday, yes, just before the Asian swing. She got Matt Daly on board, who is known for his expertise in technique and grips. He slightly changed her grip on the serve to be more on top of the racket.
Yeah, it's disproportionate. Okay, you guys, I have to go. Thank you guys for joining me while I sketched. Some looks iffy. First one has a fatter face, this one has a longer face. Alright, Anime, I will catch you later. Have a good rest of your day, though. And Ernest and Tyrone, if you guys are still here. Have a good one.